Hey everybody, and welcome to Meals with Melissa, where I come up with healthy options of things that you love to eat. Now, what I hear from everybody is, it's just so boring, it's so bland to eat healthy, it doesn't taste good, like boiled chicken and broccoli, I can't do it anymore. Listen, that's not how it is. If you're not a competition prep, that is probably not something you should be eating anyway. You know, food can be amazing and fun, and we all tie a lot of things to our food, tradition and memories, and that's great. The problem is we've just gone the wrong direction on what we consider food. So today we're gonna do a low carb Philly cheesesteak bowl. Now I'm kind of choosing it because I just spent some time in Pennsylvania earlier this week. Now I wasn't in Philly, I was in Pittsburgh, but why not? We actually, after the competition, were looking for a Philly cheesesteak or at least something good that signified the city. But I've got a great option for you today, and I've got a couple of options with that in case you need to be super low carb or whether you're just kind of just trying to eat a little bit healthier. So I've already kind of started the process over here. You know, sometimes I have to get over here and kind of show you where I'm at, and I noticed that I left my cupboard open there. But I want to show you on the stove because the majority of it is right here on the stove, and it is super fast. And there are a couple of substitutions that you can make if you need to, but super easy. Make it ahead, take it for lunch. It's just a great easy meal. And again, you're getting something fun, so why not? Really all we're doing is we're taking away the bread, which we all know is not a healthy option anyway. Although there's probably a couple of options you could use. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I've already started. I have cut my onion. It calls for one full onion. Again, I tend to kind of make it according to what I need right at the moment and maybe what I have on hand, but I've got a partial onion as well as a green bell pepper. You can use any color pepper, that is totally up to you. I'm actually gonna put these in a bowl. Right there, okay. I'm gonna add, it says 5 mushrooms, but you know, I love mushrooms, so I'm just gonna add whatever I want. I'm kind of eyeballing this one. You know, when it comes to vegetables, seriously, don't overthink it, right? You know, I have people say, well, if I add more vegetables, I'm gonna be over on carbs. Listen, when it comes to net carbs, vegetables are the true definition of that. The more fiber they have, the less sugar you absorb so quick, right? So I'm not as concerned about vegetables, especially non-starchy vegetables. If you're gonna overdo it somewhere, that's probably where you should overdo it. All right, so to that, I'm just gonna add, it says a teaspoon of olive oil. I'm gonna kind of eyeball it, but again, if you're really trying to be specific so you can learn portion control and portion sizes, you might wanna measure that. All right, so I'm just gonna add a little bit and mix that up. I've got a pan heating over here on the stove. There we go. Yeah, we use a lot of olive oil. This is almost empty, so it's time to go get some more. Now, it's really funny lately. I've heard people say, well, what's wrong with vegetable oil? They say it's heart healthy. Listen, they process that garbage with heavy chemicals, like industrial chemicals. You really want to put that in your body? I don't think so. What you want is you want the different vegetable oils like olive oil, macadamia nut oil, avocado oil. You want to make sure it comes in a glass bottle that's dark so it doesn't oxidize. And you want to check to make sure that it is cold pressed. Yes, you're going to pay a little bit more, but just trust me, over time, your health will make up for it, right? Sometimes we forget that eating healthy really is probably the greatest form of health insurance. Okay, so I'm just mixing that together so that they're all nice and coated, and I'm gonna throw them in my hot pan here already. Ready to go here. So it's kind of a small pan, but I think we'll be just fine. You can hear it sizzle already. Listen, I get that a lot of people don't like vegetables at this point. You know, people say, well, I don't like that vegetable in particular. It doesn't taste good. I'm like, first of all, have you tried it? And second of all, go to somebody who knows how to cook it, okay? Like, well. Lots of times people tell me they don't like sweet potatoes. I'm like, okay, sweet potatoes out of a can do not count. Of course I understand why you don't like that. All right, so while this is just cooking just a little bit, I'm actually gonna put a lid over top of it and let it sweat just a little bit and cook down until it's tender. Okay, so I'm gonna cover that just really quick. Now, I've already browned my beef. Now, I use ground beef today. However, you absolutely can use steak. It doesn't have to be ground beef. I saw somewhere somebody said, well, then that just makes it a ground beef, you know, sandwich. It's not really Philly cheesesteak. Do to get it. But you know, for most of us, we're trying to be at least somewhat cost effective. I cannot help it. I am frugal. I had 5 kids. I'm not trying to spend everything that I have on food. So ground beef, this is great. This is 4%. Personally, at our house, we really prefer grass-fed, grass-finished if you can find it. I know that is Very, very difficult. You know, a lot of people say, well, red meat is bad for you. I'm like, no, red meat is not bad for you. However, you eat what you ate, right? So if you're eating grain-fed, grain-finished beef, you're eating inflammational things like grain and corn. Yeah, that's what's causing the inflammation. So there's more to it, but let's just leave it there. It's just phenomenal to me how many old things that they've heard, myths, you know, red meat is bad for you, cholesterol is bad for you. It doesn't work that way. We're just not taught the truth, and we're not taught really truly how biology works within our system. All right, I'm actually gonna turn the heat back on this one. I've already got it cooked, but I'm gonna add a couple of things. And we're gonna add a little bit of beef broth. You can use low sodium, but because I eat so clean, I have to add sodium back to my my nutrition, because that's what helps me balance my electrolytes. So just making sure that I got all the right amounts here. We did that. Oh, fantastic. I'm also gonna throw a little salt and pepper on both. So we'll do that really quick. We use Himalayan pink salt at my house. We buy it in bulk, right? Again, you might not have a big household. I have a lot of people living in my house right now. So we do buy it in bulk. We just keep refilling it because it is more cost effective. Again, eating healthy does not have to be ridiculous and expensive. You just have to get smart about it. I actually have like my own little, here's where I go to get these different things so that it's the best option. Yeah, I know the time is valuable, and so sometimes that doesn't always work out. But in general, over the past few years, I've kind of figured out what really does work best for our family. So, okay, I'm gonna mix these just a little bit. And they're gonna take a few minutes. Now you could also cook these on the grill. That is, you know, a great option. I also saw a really interesting recipe that put everything in a foil, and then you can do it on the campfire if you're out cooking, or on the grill, or in the oven. You guys, there's lots of things you can do. Be creative. Pinterest can be your friend. You might have to change some ingredients. You really have to kind of learn what those ingredients mean, what are good options. I've seen some really great recipes, and then it says maple syrup. While true maple syrup might be a healthier option than, you know, added sugar into other things, the problem is your body doesn't know the difference. It will still spike insulin. So sugar is sugar, guys. You got to keep that in mind. All right, so I'm heating this other up. All right, so to this meat, I'm going to add half a cup of beef broth. And again, I'm not using low sodium, but you could absolutely do that if you need to. The reason why they tell us to do low sodium is because if you're eating a lot of processed food, or the standard American diet, you are getting a ridiculous amount of sodium because it's a preservative, right? So I'm gonna add this. You can hear those veggies just, woo, yum. Again, if you don't love veggies, find some recipes where you add some spices or something to them that makes them taste good. You also have to give your body a little bit of time in order to adjust, because if you're eating a lot of highly palatable foods, over processed, you're going to be, your taste buds are going to be addicted to those flavors. So you're going to have to reintroduce and allow your taste buds time to get used to that. There is an incredible natural sweetness to vegetables that you will enjoy. You just got to stop eating the processed garbage. Yeah, I know I say it all the time. And listen, I've been there. I totally been there, right? You know, you open a bag of Doritos or Lay's potato chips. That's their whole motto. I bet you can't eat just one. There's a reason for that, right? All right, so I'm going to add a tablespoon of Worcestershire. Yeah, try saying it. Try saying it. I'll make fun of you. No, not right. Okay, so I'm going to add a tablespoon of Worcestershire to the meat. And again, you absolutely can do some sort of a sirloin steak and slice really thinly. I believe it's against the grain. That's not my expertise. I'm gonna throw this in here. I actually love Worcestershire sauce. Okay. Let's make sure we got everything in there. And again, it's super fast. You can make most of it ahead, and then you're good to go. All right, so we're gonna let that simmer for just a little bit. We wanna make sure that it's absorbed. So let me stir that one more time. Make sure it's hot enough. Now, while this is cooking, I'm going to show you what I'm going to do to layer this. Okay. And yes, I'm using the same thing, but I did not use it with my raw meat. So I used an actual spatula for that. Okay, it's getting there. It's getting there. It's getting there. It's getting there. Fantastic. Now, again, you can actually change a little bit if you want a little more of the beef broth, a little more of the Worcestershire. By all means, you know, build it to taste. That's a great part of it. But that really has to be up to you and what you want to what you want it to taste like. So, by the way, I am headed out of town for a little bit today, and I'm going to take this as my food. So I'm pretty excited with that. Really quickly, you know, I've worked with a lot of people, especially recently. A lot of people have been traveling because it's summer, and everybody says, well, I got to put this on hold. I'm not going to be able to travel and stay healthy. And I'm like, first of all, that's a crock of crap, but okay. But no, it actually isn't that difficult to travel and remain healthy. It just requires a little bit of planning ahead. So even if you don't want to take food with you, which you can take food on a plane, just did it. But if you don't want to, there's always ways that you can make sure that there's a grocery store near where you're going to be. Get some sort of a kitchenette. And if not, you can always do what my buddy does and take a rice cooker and your own griddle, right? So there's always ways to make it work. All right, so I'm gonna layer my different ingredients to this. I'm gonna grab a spoon here really quick. Okay, so I've already cooked some rice in advance. Now this is jasmine rice. Again, if you are diabetic or you're really trying to stay low carb, low glycemic, you might need to leave out the rice as well. So keep that in mind. But I'm gonna add a little bit of, my kids make me make this because I make it like perfect apparently. Although you can make it in a rice cooker. Now I highly recommend that you measure out your food for a while until you understand how much it really is, because we all underguess how much is what we have, right? So case in point, I have to measure my peanut butter because otherwise I always get way too much because peanut butter is amazing. All right, so I'm just gonna put a little bit at the bottom of the bowl. We're gonna layer it just a little bit. Again, normally I would absolutely measure this. And to be honest, yeah, I'm trying to make it pretty today, but when I make my food, especially because I'm on the go all the time, that is not what I use as a serving option. We use a ton of different types of to-go options. Now, make sure that if you're using some sort of a plastic option with you, that you don't microwave your food in it, because of course anything, all the chemicals can leach into your food. But I tend to eat things cold. Yeah, I know that sounds horrible, but I've been doing this a long time. And most of the time, this is fuel. I'm eating it because I need fuel. I need to keep going. I need to feel good. So it's not a big deal. But you can get glass containers and get lids. And I take a cooler everywhere I go. As a matter of fact, my kids were taking off this morning for the day to the boat races. And I said, if you don't leave me a cooler, you're going to be in trouble. So, all right. So this is just about ready to go. Fantastic. All right, now it's gonna take a minute for it to absorb, and I'm gonna kind of go a little bit out of what the recipe calls for, just because I actually want I'm gonna put a little cheese on it, because we love cheese. Now, not a lot. I don't use a lot of cheese. I love cheese, but it's not usually the fat that I wanna use when I build my plan. I tend to like other things like nut butters, almonds. I use a lot of coconut oil, olive oil, because they're all healthy and they have health benefits. But every once in a while I do use cheese. And if you are trying to eat low carb, cheese might be one of those ways that you add a smidgen of protein and also a little bit of decent fat. Okay. So that's just about ready. All right, so we're using provolone today, right? This is Sargento. I don't care what brand you use. It's just what I grabbed when I was at the store last night. Okay. And it calls for 4 slices, but again, if you're batch cooking and then dividing it up, you could just use 1 per, especially if you're trying to figure out what your portion sizes are as you put it in MyFitnessPal. One of the most interesting things that we've been working with lately, as I'm working with some clients that I've had for a long time, is building recipes on MyFitnessPal and then figuring out how to break it down into serving sizes so you know exactly how much you're using and you don't have to keep inputting all the ingredients separately. Okay, I think our vegetables are just about ready to go. Oh yeah. I think we're just about there. Woo, can you hear it? I can smell it. Oh, yum. Did have a really decent kind of a steak melt this weekend, or this last week, in Pennsylvania, in Pittsburgh. Really quick question. Why is it so difficult to get Ubers in Pittsburgh right now? I don't know. Very strange. Just my experience. Okay, so I think this is about ready. All right, so I'm gonna layer a little bit of this on my bowl. Wow. Now again, if you don't like peppers and you don't like mushrooms, use what you do like, or just, again, it might take you a little bit. Now, I'm not saying that you have to learn to love things you don't like. I still will not eat fresh tomatoes. I'll eat everything made out of tomatoes, but I will not eat fresh tomatoes. Just don't like it. As a kid, I thought, yeah, someday I'll like all those things that I don't currently like. Onions, Trying to think of what else. Peppers, yeah, probably was one of them. Still don't like tomatoes. Yes, I know, I'm weird. It's okay. All right, so we put a little bit of that on there. Again, we always have a food scale going at our house, so you could actually, each thing that you put on, you can zero it out, add a little bit more, whatever you're trying to add. Okay, now the initial recipe calls to put the cheese right on the skillet and then put a lid on it and allow it to melt. Great option if you want to, but again, I like to control my portions a little bit more than that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take, it's just about done. I'm gonna take a little bit of my ground beef. Again, it can be steak. You know, cut it fajita-wise, that works great. Okay, put that in there. Just about done, so I am gonna turn it off. Again, normally I would absolutely 100% measure that. So keep that in mind. I'm gonna put just one slice of cheese. Now again, because I can control that, I automatically know that I'm getting 70 calories, 5 grams of fat, and 5 grams of protein, right? So super easy. Now, again, I only use a smidgen of this information on the back with the nutrition label for a couple of reasons. One being that they use a lot of loopholes when they create these. I am actually usually more interested in the ingredient list because sometimes it looks healthy from the front. You're like, well, it's non-GMO, organic, blah, 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 and it's by Healthy Choice. I'm like, and the third ingredient is sugar. So again, you have to really pay attention to what's in it. You have to educate yourself. Trust me, the food industry isn't gonna do it for you. That's why they have lobbyists, right? Okay, so I'm throwing that in there. I do actually have lids for this particular bowl that I'm using, so if I wanted to travel with it, which actually I am going to probably today, but for the moment, I'm just gonna use my lid and put it over top. Now, if you need to stay super low carb, right, and the rice is just too much for you, you may not need that, or just add some extra vegetables to your meal. You could throw some amazing things on there. Look, I like avocado on everything. You could throw some chopped egg. I know that sounds super, super weird, but again, sometimes those flavors just punch things up and make it really interesting, and the textures also help to make it appetizing. And the more protein you have, obviously, the more satiated you're going to be. So keep in mind, make sure that you're not just getting enough of each of the macros. I tell my people to start each meal with the protein because protein is a thermogenic nutrient. Your body has to heat up in order to break it down. If you start with the carbohydrates, such as the rice, you're gonna fill up faster, but your blood sugars, right? You're gonna be hungry sooner. So we're trying to get enough of each of the macronutrients depending on your goal in order to keep you healthy, give you energy, but not so much in the way of carbs that if you are trying to burn body fat, that your body doesn't attack the body fat for fuel. Because if it's getting all the energy it needs through the carbohydrates, it has no reason to tap into your fat stores for fuel. So listen, be creative. There's so many recipes. If you have a question, if you're like, I don't know if this is a good option, or look, I know this has honey and I'm not sure that I should have that. Sometimes honey is a great option, especially if it's, I believe it's Manuka honey is good for you. It has antioxidants and some other things in it. The problem being is still sugar. Right? Your body doesn't know the difference between man-made sugar and natural sugars. So really it comes down to making sure that you're eating the right things with it, making sure, obviously natural sugar is better for you than what I would call cocaine sugar, because it's basically the same. It lights up the same part of your brain as cocaine. So it is an addicting substance. Just be smart about it. Be reasonable. Stay under 50 grams of sugar a day. I know that's hard for a lot of people. And make sure most of those grams of sugar come from natural sources such as fruits. And if you are diabetic, I work with a lot of diabetic clients. Again, you're gonna have to pay attention to how much fiber and the glycemic index, whether or not it's, and the glycemic load to be honest, but whether or not it's gonna break down into sugar super quickly in your body, because then you're gonna have that struggle. So, okay, well now I've got my lunch for today. That's the great part about this. Last week I did the same thing. I went to a health and wellness fair and I just took my food with me that I made that morning. It's a great way to not only try it out, but I've got something done, something new to eat. And I get to be a little bit creative. So have an incredible weekend. And hey, listen, if you want to watch back episodes, I will be posting the recipe down below, but if you want to watch back episodes, if you need some other ideas, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, because again, I give all this information for free. It's really about helping each other, right? There's no cost in education and helping people. Really, for what I do, I only charge for the roadmap because then we're trying to figure out you. But everything else, go there, find all the recipes. The recipes are down below, each of those. Subscribe and hit that notification bell on there so that anytime I post something new, you have that. Now, if you have any questions, I get my very best ideas from you, and I love communicating with you all and answering questions and helping you reach your goals because listen, ladies and gentlemen, this is about you being happy and healthy and you being happy with you, right? Which I know that's a tough one. We're all our own worst critic. So have an incredible day, you guys. I apologize that there was no Q&A Wednesday this week. I was in the middle of putting somebody on stage or helping somebody get on stage, but we should be back to normal. And you guys have an incredible summer. It's still going. I feel like it's going super fast. And do the best I can to just enjoy the awesome weather now that it's not 115 degrees. So have an incredible weekend, you guys. That is Meals with Melissa. Until next time, stay happy and healthy, my friends.